This is a each one teach one moment to all white folk. All right? The word slave come from my people. This is to teach you your own origins. Slaves are proud people with a rich history spanning 13th century. In Slavic language, Slav means glory. Slavo means word. And then there is the English word slave. It goes back to the 9th century when Slavs were frequently targeted and enslaved by tribes from Iberian Peninsula and Northern Africa. Let's say that shit again. Who was being? Let's show the image they showing. Who? The white folk. 9th century? Okay. 9th century when Slavs were frequently targeted, right? And enslaved by tribes from the Iberian Peninsula and North Africa. And so the Latin word, sclava, okay, meaning both Slavonic and captive was born. Okay? Sclav. Oh gosh, y'all. All this, my tongue ain't trying to do this. This is a lot of work, okay? Sclav or slave in German, esclave, God, in French, esclavo in Spanish, slave in English. That's why I said black people can't be a slave. You are giving your destiny swapping. I can't be no slave. That derives from Slavics. I ain't no slave. Call us labor. When the Spanish and the conquistadors came into America, these brown-skinned Spanish and conquistadors and Portuguese came into America and enslaved our American Indian ancestors. Baby, you could call that was chattel labor, forced labor, right? Call it that. Don't call it slavery. It can't be. Slavs wasn't here in America. That's chattel labor, right? That they enforced on our ancestors. You can't call us slave. You could say we were forced laborers, and that's it. But you can't say we slaves because that's an English word meaning Slav. Stop destiny swapping. Stop destiny swapping. That ain't us. But it's not fair. As this is this girl's article, all right? This girl name is Martina Mostova. Martina Mostova. I like her name. Why? I don't know. Last name anyway. So it says, but it's not fair. As a Slav, I bristle at the sentence. The Slavic people had been reduced to a servile state by conquest in the 19th century. Sorry, it's a tongue twister. I don't know. It's because this lisp I have is thick as hell. Okay? Slavic people had been reduced to a servile state by conquest in the ninth century. The 9th century happened to be when Slavic tribes across Central and Eastern Europe started forming the first Slavic state. In the 9th century, my country was called the First Bulgarian Empire and was experiencing its golden age that included our biggest territory expansion, the creation of Cyrillic the Cyrillic alphabet and the birth of the Bulgarian church. Yes, Slavic tribes were getting attacked, captured, and enslaved, but they also formed their own countries, nations, cultures, alphabets, branches of Christianity. Reduced to a servile state. Give me a break. This is what she's saying. All right, hopefully they'll let me read this whole damn thing and not give me a hard ass time about it. Okay, continue on. Okay, they just want me to log in. Okay, okie dokie. All right, let's go. It says give me a break. So why was this time in history when Slavs started forming their identity and experienced the massive culture boom? Also the time when they became equal to the word slave. Why did Germanic Romantic, okay, it would be nice to put on glasses. I mean, I could see, but the stigmatism kind of gets on my nerves. Why did Germanic and Romantic nations take the name we had for ourselves, Slavyani, and turned it into one of the most dehumanizing labels? The answer is simple and universal. This is how they saw us. In their minds, Slavs and slaves were the same thing. Eastern Europe or not quite Europe. In Europe, where classism, remember that white and black term, white meant you were of high society, high class, not your hue or complexion. You could be as black as hell, okay, black as night, tar baby, and be considered white because you had wealth. You could be as white as snow, okay, clear even, and they consider you socially black because you were poor. All right. Going into it. Okay, it says, in Europe, where classism, okay, feudalism, and all kinds of enslavement had a rich history, Eastern Europeans, the majority of which are Slavs, are at the bottom of the hierarchy. I'm going to show y'all where y'all destiny swap with us. Already seen as inferior throughout the Middle Ages. Middle Ages is when black folk ruled. Black kings and queens of Europe that you still have the crest that even fake ass King Charles' wife wear that brooch today with a black nobility on it. Ain't nobody gonna make a black person a family crest or emblem or any of that. They not gonna put a black person on their family stuff. Make it make sense. Already seen as inferior throughout the Middle Ages, by the 1800s, Slavs were subjected to expulsion. Sorry, I cannot say it. And massacres by Germanic groups. Thus, the anti-Slavic sentiment followed the predictable trajectory of Germanic racism. Mind you, the original Germans were black. Need I go and read Benjamin Franklin's book of observations concerning mankind when he said that these Germans cannot acquire our language no more than their hue of complexion, letting you know that these Germans was black, and that the Anglo-Saxons like himself made up the small body, principal body of white people in the world. It was small, he said. Right? And that all these other nations, Germans, Russians, Swedes, Italian, America, entirely, wholly so, Africa, he said, Africa, Asia chiefly tiny, Asia chiefly tiny, he said, in Spain and Portugal, they like to call them niggas swarty. Them people in Spain, them Spanish and them Portuguese, them niggas was black. They so dark, they called them swarty. That's where they get the... Anyway. Need I go on and give you the rest? No, let's go back to what this lady saying. Okay? This anti-Slavic sentiment followed the predictable trajectory of Germanic racism, and a century later reached its natural conclusion. Almost 11 million Slavs joined Hitler's long list of murdered subhumans. Why were Slavs targeted by Nazis? They were seen as intellectually inferior. Destiny swap. Remember how they say that black people, y'all try to make black people, even though in your historical records and archives you got all the inventions and civilizations that us brown-skinned people in America made. Somehow you have taught the world that we are intellectually inferior. Destiny swap much? Why were Slavs targeted by Nazis? They were seen as intellectually inferior and not really white, but invaders who were living on stolen Germanic land. And when they say not really white, remember, they did not mean hue of complexion at this time, right? Remember, the 1924 Racial Integrity Act is where they began to implement white as two simultaneously being a code to mean hue of complexion, while also simultaneously talking about wealth. So I want you to put that in there. He meant, when he said white, he meant you weren't wealthy. Boo-boo. Not by anybody's sense of that. The plan was to eliminate 30 million Slavs, create room for an expanding Aryan race in the Eastern territories, and enslave the remaining Slavic population. Today, nobody is trying to kill or enslave us, but we are still perceived as inferior. We are still seen as not quite white. Whatever that means. In 2013, UK suffered a collective meltdown over the expiration of a rule that prohibited free movement from Bulgaria and Romania. Newspaper headlines claim 29 million Bulgarians and Romanians will flood the UK borders, and combined population of Bulgaria and Romania in 2013 was 27 million. All right. She goes on. Yes, we did. Okay, she said we were, okay, the headlines. And she goes, we were angry. Yes. Did we feel dehumanized? Yes. Did we feel we are being unfairly stereotyped? There go that paradigm. There go that destiny swap again. A couple of years later, around the I don't know how to say this, bricks. I'm sorry if I messed that up. Referendum. I had a performance review with English boss. In that same conversation, after praising me for having done a great job managing my team and my project, he also said, don't mind people immigrating from Bulgaria. Who else will pick up our strawberries? Destiny swap with these Mexicans. Just saying. It's a lot of destiny swapping going on. This is also what they say about black folk. I'm just saying, black jobs, destiny swap much? I'm just saying, all of this destiny swapping white people did in history. Slaves are occupying our unique space in a convoluted power structure of human beings. As white people, we know firsthand how other white people treat those they deem inferior. Oh, you didn't deem nobody inferior but yourself. See, inferiority and superiority working with the same demon. See, it took you feeling inferior, as you said, for you to now promote yourself being superior. That's like a cocky person. In order for them to become cocky, they were insecure first. It gives this inflated self-esteem that's not actual. That's all superiority is. Inflated sense of self-worth and self-preservation that is not accurate. Just saying. Right? So he says, has this expanded our understanding of racism or made us more compassionate to people it targets? Hell no. Right. It made you have no compassion. Who says that struggle always makes people good people? This is living proof that struggle can also make people sadistic, evil sons of... Slavs are among the worst races you'll ever meet. We know, we live with them. What's the deal with Slavs? If you talk with an average Slav, you'll get a whole laundry list of our glorious history. We felt burned and of hate and persecution and of genocide. We've seen superior, first world countries play down our culture, so most of us are eager to set the record straight, to explain just why we deserve respect. Destiny swap much? We turn around to the people of color and do them what other white people do to them. Wrong. That's also false history. What other white people do to what? What the hell are you talking about? That didn't happen. So what you did was, you saw how black people weren't that nice in the Middle Ages, and so all you did was pay them back in America on something we had nothing to fucking do with that happened to you in Europe. But I'll wait. After 5 centuries. After 5 centuries of enslavement by the Ottoman Empire, many Slavic countries gained their independence around the same time slavery was abolished in America. Own who? Who you own? Who you own, white people? Who you own? Did you not hear your history? Bitch, you didn't own nobody. Did you hear when you was released of your indentured servant? Bitch, let's read this shit again. I'm sorry for cussing, Lord. Forgive me. Let me read this for all these slow white people in the back that actually think they own slaves. What does this Slavic woman just tell you? After 5 centuries of you white people being enslaved by the Ottoman Empire, many Slavic countries gained their independence around the same time slavery was abolished in America. Decades later, Slavs were escaping persecution and fleeing to northern states, crossed paths like with black communities who had fled Jim Crow. When was that time? When was that time? When was that time? 1870s. Oh, I thought you owned slaves. Shut up. You didn't own nobody. You couldn't have. You were a slave. Need I say more? Not by my admission, but this Slavic white woman who clearly letting you know your history for real. This is the truth about white history. Tell the truth, shame the devil. You had been in slavery, white people, for 5 centuries by the Ottoman Empire. You were not abolished from your indenture until 1865, when these indentures were terminated, ending Slav, because you're Slavs, ending your slavery. Mind blown. Do you now know who you are? Do you now know that all this stuff that you talking about, well, then how white people get what they got? You stole it, baby. You stole it. I just wanted to get to that part. Okay? Racism, from racial slurs to forced sterilization. Destiny swap. The eugenics movement was what was done to them, and then they did it to us. As a Slav, I was heartbroken, but no surprise to read those lines. Racism, from racial slurs to forced sterilization, is ingrained in the culture of Siberia. Who said those are also Slavs, y'all? Them Siberian, them Asian looking ones. I told you they all related. Go read the book Observation Concerning Mankind. No. Go read the read that one too. But go read the chronological and read the chronological history of the Russian and Median wars. They will tell you that anybody from Attila the Hun, Genghis Khan, Slavics, Phoenician, Armenian, Dravidian, them Hindustan, Latin, these people are all kin to Japhet. Don't get me, I ain't write it. Go read the book. It got 7 volumes. Go pick up that first volume and go read them volumes. It'll open your mind blown. Asians are related to white folk. Anybody that's related to Attila the Hun and Genghis Khan, however you say that, y'all got that. Okay, y'all kin, brethren for real. Magog, Gog, Ashkenaz, Gomer, Tarshish, Kittim, Javan. Go look it up. All right, so he said racism, racial slurs, and forced sterilization, and is ingrained in the culture of Siberia, Ukraine, Croatia, Russia, Slovenia, Ukraine, Again, the Czech Republic, Poland, Russia again, Ukraine again, Czech Republic again. All right, she didn't. If you go ahead, y'all can go. We much prefer to be the oppressors, enslavers, and murderers. You hear what she said? She said, and here it is. We hate being oppressed, enslaved, or massacred. We much prefer to be the oppressors, enslavers, and murderers. This is not by my omission, but her omission. And this is true. You didn't like what history said about you, so you began to do that to other people. We, American Negro, have absolutely nothing to do with white people being oppressed in Europe. You came over here. I remember when Malcolm X said he pity white folk. What did it take for you to come to this country and be that treacherous that you would burn a man up with his children and lynch them to steal their shit? Burn a man and let your children watch. What type of hell did you come from? Explains a lot. Doesn't justify shit. Because we had no hands in that. Escaping a lot of persecution our own damn self. We were in America fighting for our own fucking land from other Negroes who came back to this bitch to steal it from us. These niggas couldn't survive and then had the audacity to ally with our asses so that we can enslave other people of our own nation. Now, we had a little bit of peace, and then they began to bring your asses over here, which was the hell that we should have never did. Never did. Ever. Because we have never had rest after that. Like she said, Slavics would prefer to be oppressors, enslavers, and murderers. That's why you propagate it so much all over TV. A white murderer is celebrated. Oh, he is. That's why you guys keep doing it. These kids that go shooting up the school, they get this nigga. One of these boys said, I'm about to make a name for myself. They wanted to go down in history for murder. So she's not lying. For murdering folk. This is your origin. This is you. The word slave comes from the Latin word Slavakis, which means Slav. And yes, there were dark-skinned Russians. You see this dark-skinned man right here? Curly, straight hair. There were dark-skinned Russians. There were dark-skinned Slavs. Look at this boat. I love to look at this boat of all these white servants. I just did a video on Queen Victoria. I'm going to post it. Queen Victoria was a servant. She wasn't even a queen. I don't even know who that fat white woman is, but she definitely ain't Queen Victoria. She was what they call it. She was the lady maid. She was the head of the household. They got her fat ass in somebody else's clothes giving conceptual art. Talking about she was a damn freaking queen. Of what? That was fake. I got her attire. I'm going to post the video. She fake. She ain't real. She ain't real. She wasn't really no queen. The attire in which she's wearing, no morning clothes, is bullshit. That was her Sunday's best. She ain't had no good clothes. And as a matter of fact, some of her outfits were actually servant clothes. And yes, servants were dressing nice. There's go look up Victorian era attire, white servant Victorian era dresses. And it'll pull up how your men and women look. Them high tops that them white men were wearing, them suits, wasn't because they owned nobody. Baby, it was because they were owned. Whew. Okay, go look it up. Just telling you the truth, shame the devil. Here we go again. Look at all of you coming here on these boats. Now, these are Ellen Island records to show you that you are an immigrant. Okay? You got to look closely. Ain't a nigga on board. Where these slave boats? Can't nobody never find them. Nobody can find these African slave boats, but we definitely can find white servants on slave boats. Everybody got on their Sunday's best, baby. They was coming over to America for a new life. I'm just saying. Look at all the labor children. It wasn't right. I'm just saying what happened in history. Then they got cartoon things. I hate when they do that. Stop cartoonizing stuff. You know what I mean? It make no sense to do that. Just put there. Okay, no oppressive taxes. No expensive kings. No. Oh, this is somebody's. Hold on. This is somebody. What's the name? Give me a few seconds. All right, we just looking at some of these comic book covers and whatnot, and whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Okay. Some of these books. They see the children. Colonial era captivating guide of colonial history. I don't know why they got them wigs on their head, because the hair that them Europeans wore were not wigs. That was their own hair. I did a video on that as well, on how some of the hairstyles of the American Indian and the Europeans derive from Egypt. Let's see what they got right here. See it in clear. Okay. And Uncle Sam, it's funny how they had Samuel L. Jackson play Uncle Sam in this Kendrick Lamar song. He looked just like it. United States of America. Ooh, they got rid of that so quickly. Alrighty then. Oh, there it is. United States of America. Admittance free. Walk in. We got the Sabbath discretion. Anarchy. Intemperance. Temperate. I don't know what that says. Superstition. Disease and poverty. Stranger at our gate. Immigrant, can I come in? Uncle Sam, I suppose you can. There's no law to keep you out. So this is the truth of history in America. The true truth. Okay? The real truth of your origins. Oh, did we do the orphan train babies? Cabbage Patch Kids? Orphan train child workers? This is the history that they don't tell y'all about. Why they don't tell y'all is beyond me. I guess you can't have white superiority if at one time you were a servant. Doesn't make for superiority, does it? Damn, they got a dead horse in the middle of the street? How come ain't nobody picked the damn horse up? Just gonna let it sit out there outside with the children. The hell? And they got all this man without homes. They started trying to send these children homes wanted for these orphan children. Oops. Sorry, guys. Where the Cabbage Patch Kids came from? Cabbage Patch Babies. They were making a lot of incubation children in these petri dish. You guys look up the story behind Cabbage Patch children. These babies were being made. You know how to be like, oh, we had breeding camps for blacks. No, they had breeding camps for your ass and incubation tubes. See how you destiny swap? Lied to us about history that never transpired. Lied to us. Never happened. Never. Never happened. You never had us doing anything. Never happened. There was no history of it. You never had black people on no slave field. You never had black people in no home breeding camps. That was you, boo. You were being made and processed that way. Not in the traditional sense where they had some big black guy and like you try to tell us. No, you were incubation babies, right? They extracted it in a petri dish, made you guys set your ass there and in a petri dish. Look up incubation babies. I ain't making this shit up. This is your history. You know that guy that was on Seinfeld? Yeah, I know what I'm saying. So the Seinfeld guy, he literally said that his father was an incubation baby. He said it. Need I say more? He said it. He said that his father was a descendant of incubation babies. Ain't nobody telling no lie. All that stuff that y'all wrote about us in history, fake. Hold on, let me get that up there. This is the Cabbage Patch Kids. This is what the Cabbage Patch Kids stood for. And a lot of children could be subject to being orphans, right? It wasn't just white folk, but more primarily white children, because they were being born through this process and then placed in boarding schools as servant workers, then placed on plantation and farms to work in coal mines and on cotton fields. Okay, I'm just giving you a history as it truly was. Before use. Pro Beckham baby incubator, 12-month growth in 1 hour. This ain't me, this y'all shit. I didn't make this. You guys, all right, now what that could possibly have to do with the mind of a person, I don't know, right? But this is infant incubators with living infants. I'm assuming that these people were participants in this. Babies of Coney Island. The incubator babies of Coney Island. This is your history. So all that shit that you was talking about enslaving black people, all that shit you was talking about when you was like, oh, we lynched and whipped y'all. Well, you lynched us, but that wasn't during the time of slavery. That was during the Jim Crow eras, right? But you was like, oh, we beat and whipped y'all and brand y'all. No, that's a lie. You were the ones being beaten, whipped, and tagged. I read the peonage in a previous video. The peonage, what was this? The peonage. I read about that and how they had black overseers who made these black guards. They tried to still pretend like white superiority was a thing. I don't know nowhere where a white supremacist would allow black people to rule over white people. Point blank, period. So I knew that was bullshit when it was stated. These white Slavs came into America, and the overseers of them were black people who owned businesses. Who made these white people were workers on black plantations in antebellum. Okay? Y'all got to look up your own history. Okay, I'm gonna give y'all this short one because I'll do another. I'll read the other book. You want me to get into the other peonage to show you that you destiny swap with us and all the things that you said about us is false and fake and you made it all up from your own experience because you wanted to do to us what was done to you? That's all this shit was. That's exactly what the girl said in the article about what happened about the Slavic slave trade and how you rather be the enslaver and all that. You made all this shit up. Okay, you made it all up. There ain't no transatlantic African slave trade. The shit fake. All of it. Whole history garbage. Throw it away. We already dispelled that. You couldn't possibly own no slaves being enslaved your damn self. You ain't owning nobody with that circumstance. It didn't happen. At all. You bamboozled us. Touche. This is Kendra with Trust TV.